Conversations are obvious, especially with the groundbreakers, with the PAG graduate. Some are totally metaphysical. So it takes a higher level of understanding, more like a poet, if you like. You can be a poet if you can think outside the mundane world, for example. So we're speaking to one man. He's thinking totally out of the box, and his name is Dr. Esewu Mathebula, who is the chair of the DCE Advisory Council. I'm not sure if he is on the line to us now. Let me try and test the audibility. Dr. Mkolisi, I'm not sure. Do you have the guy ready? I see Tepiso as well as Lesage are working furiously on that connection. Let me try and see if Dr. Esewu Mathebula is on the line to us. Doctor, thank you so much for your time. Let's trust your connectivity. Good evening.
Good evening to you, and good evening to Mr. Mako there, and good evening to the students wherever they are.
Sure, you have a rich voice. You sound like you can take the show yourself.
Yeah, given a chance, I could try.
All right, it's going to be a very, very broad conversation, Dr. Esewu Mathebula, but we are talking how the Advisory Council can add value to students as well as graduates. So the focus is really around student and graduate, but just to lay a foundation around the conversation. Why is this conversation personally and this topic personally important to you? Do you find this of necessary importance, and why?
Let me start by thanking Dr. Brink and the team for this good initiative. Finding employment for students after graduation, it's very close to my heart. And the topic of working the credit learning as well, I'm very passionate about.
Yeah.
Because it provides students with an opportunity to learn about the culture of whatever career they may have studied for a TUT, and it allows them as well to have some experience. And by the time they graduate, they are ready to work immediately, meaning they're employable. So it's a very good initiative.
It is indeed a very, very great initiative, but I wanted you to get properly, firstly to get to you, but I may have to take an ad break. I see my screen is flashing. When we come back straight from an ad break, so I'm gonna get straight into the crux of the matter, the bone of the marrow, if you like, but obviously it's going to be a broad conversation. It's the groundbreakers. We do have Dr. Esewu Mathebula joining us on the line. So what we are having, it's a more convoluted topic because it's not an ordinary conversation, and this is part of what the groundbreakers PAG graduate is trying to do, is that we have conversations that people are unwilling to have with the team that we have. But what we are willing to do is take a break.
Coming up on the morning.
All right, we are indeed amplifying voices and empowering lives. By the way, we are coming to you live from Building 53 in Soshanguve South Campus, and we do have a strong team. I wanted to bring him on air, but instead of right at the tail end of the show, I'm going to bring one by one, and they'll tell you exactly what their role or roles is. Have Professor, they'll correct me, because it's a team. So a team is, right? We are one. That is beside the point. So let's bring in Dr. Esewu. Listen, this is a very, very convoluted topic. It's more nuanced. It's a little bit more tricky. But let him start breaking to us now in terms of what the Advisory Council is doing. Because Now we hear about these councils. Now we hear about these institutions, but we are not sure where their positions are and what they are really serving. So let's start understanding office by office, role by role, and this man will help us understand exactly why they have that office. And his name is Dr. Esewu Mathebula, joining us on the line now, and we're talking how his office is actually helping us adding value to you, the student, and the graduate, right? Do they have opportunities, for example? Do you have questions in a topic like that? Drop us a call. Give us an SMS. We have technicians who are working furiously, right, to get those messages. The number is 01238292257. Doctor, what exactly is the Advisory Council and what is your role?
Thank you. Mr. Mako already mentioned some of the things that are part of our role, but I'll just add that our role, as it says, is an advisory role. We advise the university when it comes to what the industry really requires from students. For instance, I think this initiative emanates from a gap that has been identified, that it may happen that the curriculum doesn't cover what the industry is looking for. So whilst they are at the various industries during this program, work integrated learning practical skills, that is where there will be some talks from the industries to say, you come from TUT with this theory, but it is not exactly what we are looking for. What you're looking for is this. Then we take what is lacking from the curriculum, we take it back to TUT to say, please, we are advising you to look at this so that you upgrade you review your curriculum so that it caters for exactly what the industry is looking for.
So maybe if you can help me there, because audibility is important in the line of work that I do. So I really need to understand what is being said there for me to have follow-up questions regarding that. I may have missed Doctor on the line to us, but that prompts me to take a net break. But like I said, I have a very, very strong team working endlessly, indefatigably, if you like, behind the scenes to make sure that there's connectivity. I don't know, they are signaling to me. But let me start taking a net break, and then when I come back, let's start the conversation, because it doesn't help me, not you either. And I see this team is about end results. So I see their body language. I see Lesetsa Senocha, searching furiously for that connectivity. Tsepiso is watching at his laptops very focusedly, which prompts me to take a break. And then when we come back, let's try and find if we do have the doctor on the line to us. But what we're trying to discuss here tonight is obviously how the advisory councils. We've heard complaints about people saying, Obakeng, I hear people who are telling me there's any office, but they're not helping us. But how do you want the office to help you? And it's that conversation between the how and the why. It's a very narrow conversation, but very focused, but very productive too. When we come back from an ad break, we bring in Dr. Esewu on the line too, as we do also have the Secretary of the DCE of the Work Integrated Learning Advisory Group, Mr. Mako. Mr. Mako is on the line to us, joining us in studio now. Obviously, if you're thinking of a Nelson Mandela, looks like one. He looks very focused, very inquisitive. It's going to be a tough show. So obviously, with people like that in studio, it's gonna take up until 9 o'clock. Let's take a break. We back allow Mr. Senosha, because he doesn't like the idea of doing any work. Tepiso doesn't like the idea of doing any work that has no excellence to it. Let's take a break. We're back. Welcome back from a quick commercial ad break. This is TUT FM 96.2. We amplify voices and empower life. 10 exactly before the hour 8. I'm Obakeng Aubrey Moeketsi. It's a plug graduate, the only show in the entire Gauteng province. You can tell even national media that we're punching above our weight. In fact, even local media cannot compete here because we invest, and I'm using that word very loosely, we invest a lot of resources in making sure that the content that comes out to you is proper. And we have Tshepisa Kokane and some great guests here, Mr. Tsakubi Mako. Yeah, let me get it right. I see he's smiling very slightly at the corner of his mouth. Can tell the smile there. I got it right eventually, but on the not really. Is that Tsakubi Mako?
Sabuki.
Oh man,
Sabuki.
Sabuki. Yeah. Why am I getting lost? Why is your name difficult? It's not. Too difficult. But let's bring in Sabuki Mako. Is that it?
Yeah.
All right. But let's bring in. It's a difficult name. Dr. Esewu Mathebula is on the line to us now, and obviously one of the things we asked Dr. Esewu is your role in the office, and but obviously our conversation today is how you can add value to student and graduate. Are you dealing, and how are you helping? Let's first start because then there are students, then there are graduates. Let's start with student. Is there any way you help them?
This program is precisely for students, especially those who are doing their third year, where we give them work exposure so that when they graduate, they are ready to be employed. But our wish also is to start this program from first years, so that whenever they are part of the industry, they learn about the culture of the industry right from the first year. And then maybe second year, they will start getting into gear of how things are done. Then third year, they will have a full understanding of how that particular industry works. For instance, if somebody has studied IT, then they will be involved in an IT company from, let's say, first year up to third year. So by the time they finish with their studies and graduate, they are ready to work.
Is there speciality in your part? I see you talking about word exposure, but work is broad. So you dealing with all industries, and what's your relationship with all of them?
Let me give you another example. Let's say a student is studying policing, for instance. Then our job is to make sure that that student is, for instance, for work integrated learning, becomes part of either Metro Police or the SAPS, so that they can learn how the SAPS does their job on a daily basis. Normally the work integrated learning for the third years it is 8 weeks. So for that 8 weeks, they will be exposed to a number of policing activities. So by the time they graduate, they know exactly what to expect whenever they are on the ground as police officials. That's our aim.
I want you to stop it there. Let me bring in Mr. Sabuki Mako. Got it right. I see you are broadening your smile with a bit more glee, if I get it right this time. But how are you involved in this overall process, and what's the objective in terms of the work that you do in relation to what we are discussing tonight? Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you once again. Yeah, as I alluded earlier on to say, the role that I'm doing within the directorate is to be an employability practitioner. What are we doing as employability practitioners? We are overlooking at will, more especially in terms of work readiness. So we give students, those that have registered will, and usually are your 30 years who are just about to graduate and then going for will. Remember, will, as it is, it's a component that is credit bearing. You cannot graduate without completing this particular component of will. So it's very much important that it is well coordinated, and it is a systematic type of a situation whereby we are involved. So we prepare students in terms of the world of work, and then once they go outside, they are exposed to the workplace, and then that is where the role of the council is, in a sense that it promotes partnership between the university and the world of work. So that enhancement is necessary, because at the end we want students we want to graduate who are work ready. So by so doing, we are polishing them, if you allow me, refining them to be work ready. So, but however, assessment takes place, and then assessment is done in a workplace by what you call the mentors, and then the mentors needs to collaborate with the departments within the university as to this is how it goes. They guide the students, and then they will give a report back to the university. So our role is to oversee all those processes, to see to it that they are well coordinated, and assessment gets to be done, and the students are ready, and then we can fully say the students are ready to go into the world of work.
It is 3, make it 2.5 exactly before the hour. So in the next hour, we laying the foundation here. But before we got to the news, let me bring in Dr. Esewu on the line to me now, and maybe get back to the work that they do. Is that, Doctor, what's your relationship with universities, especially broadly speaking, nationally speaking, or maybe internationally, because an institution like yours or an organization like yours should be able to reach people from far-flung areas. What's your relationship with the universities in terms of making sure that this initiative is able to see the light of the day?
Let me start by saying this initiative, it is the first of its kind by TUT. So this is the first council ever. So what we are trying to do is to make sure that it works. And once we are sure that it is proper, then we can be able to engage other universities to say, here is a model that can be used to assist our students. But now we are still on the initial stages of this council, and we are still trying to put things into place. Still trying to have our systems in place, because when you start something, you will have sometimes you will fall, get up, and we are at that stage. But so far we are doing very well, because we're able to launch the council. So most probably in our next year, we will be able to implement whatever we want to implement, because on the 1st of August, we're going to have our strategic work session where we are going to draft a strategic document to say, how are we going to, unpack this whole process, and what will be our key performance areas as well. Then from there, we'll know exactly that moving on, we have a document to work on. And once we reach maybe half year next year, we will know that this is a good model on its own, but we need to put, our ducks in a row.
All right, we'll leave it there for a time being. Listen, we're going to make space for the news. Just a minute before the hour 8. Mathebula will walk into the studio at the moment, but I suppose we do have Mr. Tsabuki Makohu, who is in studio with me now, and I suppose to call him Mr. might very well sound like an insult, because normally we bring in professors, normally we bring in doctors, but all of these people, even if we say Mr., are people who are worth their salt. idiomatically speaking, is that they carry their weight even against all odds. So we've brought in Mr. Mako, who will join us on the line. Some conversation, as I said, are philosophical. Some are too tactical. But we try to cater for all and sundry across the country, whether you are into the IT space. We try and get those people. But the reason why they are in studio is not necessarily to teach me mechanical engineering, for example. It's for you, a graduate. It's probably going out of your qualifications without knowing that your boss is not your professor, for example. Your professor might like you. they might do you favors if they do. I don't think professors do. But in the end, outside the university that we thought will prepare you for the outside world, many people are saying, seeing people who are coming out qualified as they are, but they are not work ready. Dr. Roland Brink did say that, and maybe outlined ways in which we can try and counter the lack of readiness, if you like, in terms of the space. Is that why we're having many people who are graduated but unemployed, who are feeling there's no point going to school, even if your teacher is telling you that there's no way outside education? Where's the gap here? People we bring here, people like Mr. Takubi Mako, people like Dr. Roland Brink, people like Miss Shalate Davani, are people who are probably talking about people who are not saying things that should be said. And this show is precisely about that. We are having very uncomfortable conversations. And I said it yesterday. This country, even from the apartheid era, was not built by a decor magazine, for example. This country is founded on robust discussions. And it's precisely that this show is comfortable about. Let's take a break and see if we cannot get one Asnatebila on the line to us, give us the news. It's just after 8. The ground. Exactly. Part of what we do on the show is to make sure that, Mr. Tabuki Mago has requested a classic song. So, off air, we were having a conversation and I asked him, because this show is about really classic songs. We don't play Amapiano on a show like that. Yeah. So I'm asking him, what song do you like? Because I was trying to build towards that show, towards the other hour, just so we take a little breather. But remember, please use this chance. People don't realize when they do have a chance, and that's what TUT is trying to do. Open up an opportunity for you that other people in other institutions would not have heard had it not been for people like Mr. Tabuki Mako, people like Dr. Roland Brink, and of course Dr. Esewu joining us now on the line. But also, we are the only show in the country that is able to fuse I'm using fuse because now there's Mr. Tabuki here. You know, you can't be low with people like this around you. But otherwise, mix. It's a word I'm comfortable with. So you like Nina Simmons? Why?
Oh, she's classical, she's jazzy, and she plays piano in a very, very classical way. That's why I like it. And her lyrics are poetic.
Oh,
Messageful.
at what point did you find her to be an inspiration? I'm seeing one song, so I'm going to play any song for you as we build towards the conversation because there's new news. But part of what we're trying to do on this show is to make sure that our bosses, because I mean, you guys are the salt of the earth, so we respect the value that you're bringing on the show. But if this makes you feel like you've ate your supper, then we're glad to play it. But at what point did you love the song? Maybe at a difficult point in the history of the country, or is that a personal song? Is that a sentimental choice for you?
As you said, it enlightened us in quite a number of things during those years of struggle.
Yeah.
So she was very elaborate about those issues that are struggle based. And if you know what the Black Panther is in the US, she was part of the Black Panther.
Very, very big person. That's Nina Simmons. Listen, she's so jazzy.
Yeah,
Too jazzy. Yeah.
sun in the sky.
After this, we continue with the conversation. It's the Groundbreakers. Wednesday is about country building. I'm not sure if I've seen that on a dictionary, but it doesn't matter. I'll create that word anyway. Is that we're going to have people make sure that they are in the right state of mind. We care about people. We care about their state of mind in terms of their heartbeat. We even care to your footsteps. That's why we're playing songs that's gonna help Mr. Tabuki Mako, because without this song, he's telling me he's driving dangerously. Well, he didn't say that, but that does some good. So listen to Nina Simmons. It's a jazzy song. Is it? Do you call it a jazzy song?
It is deep jazz.
Listen to this.
Don't buy, you know how I feel.
I'm thinking it's too deep. You are saying it's classical, but I don't think there's any difference between the two. Is that how you relax? when you are at home? Sure. Heavy music. All right. So that's what drives the people we have on this particular show. But outside the music that we play, because we not only trying to bring you the topic, we also trying to bring you the man behind the topic and what drives him, for example. Because you cannot get to this point of conversation without being driven. These are self-driven people, and sometimes you are not there. And this is the kind of music. So off air, I was asking him, what drives you? And he says, Nina Simmons. And I tell him, but this is too laid back. He's saying, nah, it's his music, right? Phew! I felt so depressed. I felt so depressed. Do you feel that way when you're listening to the song? Because I mean, at times when you are bored, maybe it's a depressing song. It is.
Sometimes, somehow. Yeah.
So why do you like the song? A depressing song.
The lyrics.
The lyrics
relates very well with every life situation like that.
So let's bring in let's bring in Dr. Esewu Mathebula, who's on the line to me now. He is the chair of the DCE Advisory Council. So the question I wanted to ask you, Doctor, is how do you help students, and how do students access you to make sure that with all the programs that you are bringing on board, that there's the synergy, that there is at least a level of interaction? Because one of the sense I get, Doctor, is that much as there are programs, even in government, is that if you cannot connect to the right audience, then it's pointless. So how do you make sure that your programs do target the right areas, and what programs do you have?
What we do as a council, we do not necessarily work with the students directly, but as a council, we deal with the industry to say, industries, we have students, please take them. And thereafter, as a council, we are being advised by both the students who are part of the program and the industry as well, to say, these are the problems, these are the challenges, this is what needs urgent attention. Then we take it from there. The university has got its own processes of placing students within the various industries. As a council, ours is just mainly to advise and to get the right industries on board. That's mainly our task.
Let me get back to Mr. Tabuki, who's in with us here in studio. So what is your role in making sure at the end of the day it's about students? And I bring that question to you, that it's worrying that we have students who are graduating year after year. And when I mention TUT alone, I mean talking thousands and thousands. That is quite apart from other universities. So what are you doing from a point of view of empowerment to make sure that what is produced in TUT or at TUT, whatever the campus is, doesn't really end in drain as are other qualifications? Is there any coadjuvancy between you, and by coadjuvancy, surely I'm using that word because now I'm talking to a very intelligent person, but the level of cooperation, if I may try and put it that way, between you and the programs that you have and the people you are trying to serve? What are you doing, and what's your level of cooperation with institutions to make sure that students that comes out of universities graduated do not end up as junkies, for example?
Thanks for the question. It's a very, very touching question, because it's appropriate for the situation that we are in, given the high unemployment rate. Then it becomes very, very much so when we have youth that are employed and that are graduates. So basically what we are doing as a directorate, we are trying to, like I mentioned, we prepare them for the world of work in quite a number of ways. So in our work readiness programs, we guide them on how to prepare winning CVs, We guide them on how to be ethical during work integrated learning hosting, because once you are hosted and then you are ethical and professional, that opportunity can culminate into employability or into a permanent situation. Over and above what we are doing, we are trying to come up with enhancements within our directorate. For example, there's a system that we are embarking on. We used to call it Olums because that is how it was licensed, but now it's called My Will, My Job.
Okay.
It's a system whereby we are interfacing the employers and the students and the university.
All right.
So employers can put on opportunities in there. And then once the opportunities are there, students can be able to access those opportunities and try to apply. The other thing that we are doing, that I'm doing particularly in my workshops that I'm encouraging students to be on, is to be looking for opportunities that are not just local, but even the opportunities that are offshore.
Sure.
Because there might not be enough opportunities here, but somewhere in Qatar, in Dubai, there might be opportunities.
Sure.
So students must be on a lookout for that. And then the other thing that we which is paramount, and then we are going to incorporate the guide and the use of the council, the will council in this regard, is we are trying to push the trajectory of entrepreneurship. Students need to be entrepreneur because they are not all going to focus on being employed. Some can focus on being employers. So that's a trajectory we are trying to look at. And then those are some of the things that we are coming up with to help the students. And then if you allow me to continue just
Of course, I will.
To measure our impact, as to are we doing well in terms of that. Next year we embarking on what I can say, if you allow me, to be referred to as a tracer studies. So we are going to have a tracer whereby we are going to check how many students have gone through our work readiness preparation, how many have graduated, and then out of those that have graduated, how many have been employed permanently.
Yes.
And then by so doing, we can detect our impact, and then upon that particular detection of that impact, we can go and reflect as to how best can we enhance our doing, and so on and so on. But what is lovely is that the system that we are embarking on, which is the My Will, My Job, will be the one that will expedite employment opportunities, and then it will we want to bring more employers on board as far as that system is concerned, so that all the adverts that are going in there must be accessed by students at any time, anyhow.
Great point you raised there, Mr. Tsabuki. But it's a question I'll throw back to Mr. Esewu Mathebula. Mr. Mathebula, in terms of connecting, because what institutions are developing, it's not necessarily to create employment, like Mr. Tsabuki is saying. Depending on the cycle of circumstances, obviously you'd want to create much more than that. How are you connecting students to international market, for example? I know it's a broad question, but surely you can tell us about programs that you have there, if any.
Mr. Tsabuki has said it eloquently. What we are trying to do before we could even connect them to international companies, we are trying to say to the various industries, they must create that space that they absorb some of the learners permanently into the industries. And I'm glad because other industries are responding positively towards that call. So, like I said, we are still a new council. We're still going to sit and draft our study document to see how best can you assist the learners. But we will get there eventually, because what we want to see, we want to see the level of unemployment, especially from TUT students, being reduced maybe to the want TUT to be a university of choice by many, so that they know that if you go to TUT, out of TUT, chances of being employed are 99.9%. So that is our goal.
All right. Let me get back to you, Mr. Tsabuki. Is that in terms of the gap that we are seeing between students and working opportunities, where are we lacking? Again, I understand it's a broad question, susceptible to a broader answer. Do you have an answer to that? Why are we seeing that gap? I mean, already you are talking about an international market. My worry is we've not done enough to fix what is in the country, which is where we should start before we go internationally. But you are thinking there's a need to connect this market because it's already ripe with the international market. But are we there yet? Are we at a point yet where we could even think about international market when our own market is not at a point where it is self-sustainable? Let's start there.
Yeah. The gap will always be there because it's a question of demand and supply. The demand for work placement is it's very, very, very high, because remember, in South Africa, TUT is not unique in terms of the PQM, that is the in terms of the qualifications that we are offering. We are competing with other universities and so on and so on. But the demand, I mean, the market that is supposed to supply that particular employment is shrinking because of the given economic situation or the economic climate that we are in. And then post-COVID, we are having quite a number of companies that are coming down, and then that affects our graduate employability. But so we are not just sitting and say there's a gap in terms of that particular supply and demand issue. However, like I'm saying, we are bringing all the information. This board that we have inaugurated about last week, it will be an enhancement in terms of bringing opportunities to students. And then again, like I said, what is paramount between in the relationship between the DCE and the board is that there's the element of partnership. Among others, the sitters would be there to fund some of the opportunities that we want students. So by those kind of partnerships, by those kind of enhancement, we are trying to bridge that particular gap whereby the demand is more than what is supply. So, but we are doing something as far as that space is concerned.
Got a number of questions coming to you, right? Already you saw the paper coming to me, right? So there are a number of people, and hopefully I'll take a break, and then when we come back from an ad break, I know that Dr. Esewu is on the line to us now. But before we take a break, Doctor, the question I want to ask you is, but is there a space in this country for this country? I mean, you're speaking to graduates who are saying, I'm going back to school for the second time because I studied the wrong course. Is there any empowerment program that you have to make sure that you align the right people with the right skill set and the right intellect? And I'm using that very grudgingly, to make sure that people who have the right capacity are aligned to the right program. How do you work around that? And I'm going to give you 2 minutes around that before we take a break. A couple of questions are coming in.
You see, as a council, our main task will be to advise on basically what the industry requires. So there are instances where a student will feel that, no, perhaps I studied the wrong, whatever they've studied. It may happen that a student studied policing, but once we expose them to the practical part of policing, they realize that, no, this is not what I thought it would be. So there will be those instances. So I think as part of our strategy, we may also look at that, but I think the university as well does have or should have some kind of a program where they advise students. But us as well from the industries, we want to, give our time. If they need us, we will be there at the universities to advise students, to talk to students, so that they make the right choices.
All right, on the line to us. Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I just want to add on that.
Sure.
Thanks. In terms of the correct career choice, Yes, it's difficult because career guidance is not emphasized somewhere down in the lower level of education.
Sure.
But however, what Dr. Mkolisi alluded to earlier on was, in an ideal, you don't just have to have will only at the third year. But once you've got your will being designed such that it is done at first year, maybe for a week or two, the student will be exposed to the industry, and then at first year, that's when they can realize that this is the right program that I'm in, or this is not the program that I want to be in.
Sure.
So, and then and they are not just learning the decorum of the industry, but learning to say this is the way I'm supposed to be, and that would sharpen them towards the exit point. Yeah. So that's one way in which we can ensure that they are in a correct career pathing.
In a minute, for example, I'll have to take a net break. Dr. Mkolisi, I don't want to deny you the opportunity to want to add value to this particular conversation. Anything you add in 30 seconds before I take a break, or you totally agree with the view, surely?
No, I fully agree with the view that students should be given that opportunity to start first year so that they understand the culture of the industry versus what they are studying. That will help them as well to decide as early as at that time to say, is this what I want to study? Or they can change immediately without wasting time.
Right. There are a number of questions that are coming in 4 minutes time. I'm bringing those questions, and I want you to answer these questions as voluminously as is possible. Don't drop any questions. There are a number of questions. Some will come in. We may probably end the show without having answered all these questions because a number of them are trickling in. Already on my table, I have 5 questions, but let's take an ad break. And then when we come back, we're going to fire these questions. Please, Dr. Mkolisi, be free to add, even if this question is directed to the man I have in studio here is Mr. Tabuki Mako. You are allowed, Mr. Mako, if you feel that you want to add value to the question that I direct to Mr. So just for the benefit of the listeners and the fuller answers, because I think 2 is better than 1, right? You would agree with that. So if that answer is going to be answered by both of you, one adding his contribution, the other doing the other part, I would imagine that is a complete information. So feel free, because this is about plucking a graduate and giving them the best possible advice. Yeah? Looking like you, Masikela, you knew that, right?
No.
Okay, right. Let's take a break. And then when we come back, 5 questions coming too. I've seen your questions. One coming out of Mamelodi, the other from Erasmus. Soshanguve, you are listening. Thank you so much for your time. There's Pretoria CBD. You are welcome on www.tutfm96.2.co.za. You can use that dial too, even if you are about to get to the OR Tambo International Airport and maybe about to fly out of the country. We're more than happy to have you on the flight. Please tell your pilot, of course you can't listen to the radio on your flight, but for the sake of TUT being the biggest radio station, I mean, your pilot knows the only radio station that is allowed to play when you are flying is, well, TUT FM. Do not feel neglected because we get into your questions. Please start sending them in. It's 25 exactly before the hour 9. It's Plug a Graduate. And I always say that when I say that, I feel like I'm wasting time because this is an obvious point. We see programs coming from government, a lot of government. And we speak to professors on this show who are telling us we're missing the point. And part of why we have this program is to really get the point for the first time. So yes, we perform better than the government, except that's me talking, right? I don't think you'll take it seriously immediately, but part of what we do is to make sure that we address issues that will probably take government years to address. How do you make sure that the learners that are going to school, because I've always said it, then there's no point of NSFAS. If these people are not going to come out of school and be productive, make sure they pay the money so that other people are going to come to. That's the idea of NSFAS. Not that we're throwing money around, and that's why yesterday I was saying it's a waste of my tax money for you to get pregnant in campus. All right, that's not the point, but it is a waste of money, taxpayers' money, a lot of people's money. I cannot afford to see somebody walking around pregnant. I'm thinking, could have done that years ago before I pay my tax. Why I pay my tax is to make sure that you uplift your family, so that if you are uplifted, you uplift the community. It was the original thinking. Maybe we need to induct people around NS4s in terms of what the overall purpose is. No, it's not because we want to empower people. We were shunted aside by the apartheid government. No. It's quite apart from that. It's a rotational movement, in a sense that please pay the money so that the government that said has no money is able to pay for other students who will pay for other students. It was created around Ubuntu. So if you get pregnant in campus, you're wasting my tax money. It's unaffordable. But that's beside the point. I always said that. I said that yesterday. Please, when you get into campus, be ready. That's why we're spending so much airtime, so much money in making sure that you get empowered. But if you're not going to take the opportunity, it's no point. But we bring in the cream de la creme. Yeah, the top of the tree, like I said. The salt of the earth, if you will. But they're in studio with us now. And one question is coming straight out of Erasmus. And like I said, be open to give us your thoughts, Mr. Tabuki, if you are open to that. But this is the question I direct then to our guest joining us obviously on the line to me. And the question, as I said, Mr. Mathebula is straight out of Erasmus and from Malebo Malete, who's saying, how can a first year learner know how to build their portfolio for them to get a job like yours? Mr. Mkolisi, let's start with you. Did you get the gist of the question? And maybe you did. All right. If you did, Mr. Mkolisi, are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Still here.
All right. You got the gist of the question, or should I repeat that?
No, I get the question. It's about how can a learner be able to create a portfolio right in first year, and so that they can be employed and get a job like most of us.
Sure.
Normally, that's what we said earlier on, that what we would love to see is for learners to be introduced to the industry right from first year. And first year, we know that they don't have any experience and any knowledge of their programs. So within that first year, they will just be observing, maybe for 2 or 3 weeks, observing the culture of that particular organization or whatever association that they will be part of as part of the WIL program. I don't think they'll be ready to build a portfolio at that stage.
All right. You got the question, and maybe something you want to add there?
Yeah. As we've been harping the fact that being exposed at first year would be an ideal. And then, for example, you can expose yourself to observe days like your Mandela Day. On that particular day,
Yes.
you go
Yeah.
there, you do some work, and then you compile a report and translate that into hours to say I spent 2 hours, and then those hours can build up in terms of the number of years, and then they will build into an experience that you can share.
Right.
And then by so doing, those little elements can help you to build a profile and can help you to build a portfolio.
Let me get back to you once again, and this question is coming straight from Mamelodi. I hope you are listening as well, Mr. Tabuki. It's just so you want to weigh in because I want to get the best of both worlds. So, being here, you are at a vantage point, if you like, to hear me from where you stand. But this question is directed to you, Mr. Mkolisi. It's straight from Mamelodi, and Isaiah is asking, what is the main purpose of going through work integrated learning?
Or he wants to know about the importance of going through work integrated learning.
That's the question from Mamelodi, yes.
It's so that they can get an exposure, practical experience of what they've been studying at TUT. Because, for instance, like I said, if a student is studying policing at TUT, they only mainly do the theory part of things. But when we take them straight to the SAPS into a police station, that's where they would learn the practical part of policing. And that helps them as well, because by the time they graduate, they can just fit in nicely into the police department should they be employed by that department. It helps a lot.
All right. Mr. Tabuki is obviously an observer, so we cannot throw questions around or statement around without really asking for your observant perspective. So there's a question from Mamelodi. You got the gist, but let me refresh your mind there. The question is the main purpose of going through the work integrated learning. I know that's your space. Surely you're in a good position to maybe give us a proper answer there.
Yeah, I won't take anything from what Dr. Mkolisi has said, because it's mainly to give you the exposure. But however, Isaiah must look into the fact that TUT, as it is, it's a University of Technology in its status, and then most of the qualifications are built in work integrated learning is built in as a curriculum component which is credit bearing.
Yes.
So definitely for you to complete all the credits for that particular program you are following, work integrated learning has to have a credit within those particular credits. So it's important for you to get that particular credit for work integrated learning, and then more than anything, it's just to expose you to the world of work in terms of the profession that you are following.
I think it's a benefit to have both of you here, because what Dr. Mkolisi is missing is something you can pick up. So it is really advantageous to have both of you joining us. Obviously, Dr. Mkolisi joining us on the line. You are in the studio here. Doc, you want to add anything?
Maybe just to add, I'm from the industry and Mr. Tabuki is from TUT. So I'm speaking from the industry point of view.
So you know the game better, Doc? Yeah?
Yes. And I don't want to expose myself, but I'm in the military by profession.
Nah, don't, because I was there before you. I mean, born in 1947, surely. I may have been there before both of you. I see Mr. Takubi shaking his head furiously, doesn't agree with me. But we're going to take a break. A couple of questions are coming in. Both of you, you'll stay on the line, you'll stay in the studio, Mr. Takubi. But there's a question as well from So Shanguve. I want both of you to, with time, address those. We take a break, and then when we come back, we continue with the so it's a plug a graduate is between 7 and 9. The reason why we've decided, let's address the unemployment issue from every industry, because unemployment, I mean, reading the stats, there's youth unemployment. Even that doesn't reflect the true picture of the country and the unemployment, because what about people who have given up? They're unemployed too. So this show is about even those people who are forgotten, and we're bringing in people who know, been in the industry. We take a break. When we come back, we still have Mr. Tabuki Mako, who's on the line to us, and Dr. Mkodisi. We take a break. We're back. Let me tell you that Refilwe from Pretoria, the CBD, we're coming to your question. There's a question from Tsepa Malete from Soshanguve, Block KK, and well, TUT North. We have your question ready here from Hope Kappa. So yes, all those questions will be answered. It's 15 exactly. We have 15 minutes within which those questions will be answered. I'm Obakeng Moeketsi. This is the Groundbreakers, and this is TUT FM. Thank you to you for listening to us on www.tutfm96.2.co.za. We take a break. We're back. It has gone 12, make it 11 and a half exactly. So we're going to move with a little more pace. Tsepa Malete, we come into your question straight out of Soshanguve Block KK. The question is, and I'm bringing that question to you first in studio, Mr. Tabuki Mako, is Tsepa Malete is asking from Soshanguve, what is the main importance of the advisory council? Maybe let me stop you there. Let me bring it to Dr. Mkodisi, who's on the line to us now. Doctor, the question is, what is the main importance of the advisory council?
Like I said earlier on, that the main purpose of the advisory council is to advise in case there is a gap between what the industry requires and what is being taught at the university, so that the university can either review whatever curriculum so it caters for what the industry is looking for. That will help the student by the time they graduate, after they've gone through the program, they are able to be employed. They are ready to work that will help. So our role mainly is to advise, but it's not only limited to advice. Where we see that we need more industries as far as other programs are concerned, there's no harm in us going to ask those industries to say, please, can you accommodate our students? So that is our role.
Quick thoughts from you, Mr. McCoy, if you disagree or agree with anything from that viewpoint.
I strongly agree, because one of the responsibilities of the council is to guide and support and advise the will program or initiatives that are will related. Furthermore, the board's primary goal is to ensure that will programs are aligned with the needs of expectations of the industry and academia and the community in which we are operating within. And furthermore, is to facilitate, advise, and encourage the partnership of the university with the industry and business. So that alignment, it's very necessary. So the board will be basically helping us in terms of getting those kind of advice and support.
And 9:30 exactly before the hour 9, Rema Senior will step in between the hour 9 and 12 with the date night show. It's a show of pure music, but on this show, on a Wednesday, we reducing one person at a time the annoying, and I'm using that word loosely, annoying level of unemployment in the country. It's pointless to go around saying, yeah, youth are unemployment without having even the right policy from a government perspective to address that particular issue. But TUT FM is saying, we understand the problem and we want to be part of the solution. And this is how we address that particular issue. So let's go back to Refilwe Lorani, who is from Pretoria CBD. And I'm going to you, Mr. Mkolisi, Dr. Mkolisi, is that the question is, what are the key programs that a student has? And this is a first year student asking to join in on your program, if that question makes sense at all.
I think we spoke about this one, and Mr. Tabuki also elaborated quite a bit that we would love to have students right from first year,
right,
as part of the WHEEL program. We are still engaging with various industries, and once TUT is ready, we will engage with the industries so that they can take the students. But already there are industries that showed interest that they would love to take students from first year. So we'll see how best can TUT advise us on this one, whether when you start immediately next year, but we'll wait for TUT to advise us. But industries are ready to take students from first year.
All right, we have the last question from Hope, but I'll allow you to not only add from the answer that Dr. Mkolisi has provided, but to get to the question we are going to next. You got the last question. Refilwe is asking, are there any key programs? You got the answer from Dr. Mkolisi. Yeah. Anything to add? But quite apart from adding, you will deal with the next question, start off, and then we wrap up the show because we have no time. Dr. Mkolisi could add from what you're saying, but do you have anything to add from what Dr. Mkolisi have said from a question from Refilwe, who's asking about the program that student has? And this is a first year student who's asking, is there any value from those programs? Anything to add?
No, I'm fine with what
you are fine. All right, let's go now to the question from Hope, who's from TUT North, right? And the question is, Dr. Mkolisi, hopefully you are listening as well. You may add from that because we are flat out of time. But the question is, what measures do you have? And this is directed to you. Is that what measures do we have to guarantee that we are going to get employment after our studies? I think I have the answer myself, but let me allow you to to handle that because you are more intelligent than me.
What guarantee? We do not have any guarantee.
There
but,
you go.
We are trying to expedite to make it fertile for all the students that are going through our programs to be, to make it to the employment.
Right.
We guide them in terms of how to prepare for the interviews, for the world of work, And then we are coming up with quite a number of strategies that will help them in terms of that.
Sure.
Among others, like I'm saying, we are having an enhancement of a system whereby we want to bring more employers. So we want them to be exposed. So we are advising students on ethical behavior in the workplace so that they must make it, and then how to construct a good CV that will give them access. So those are the things that we can do to guarantee them to gain employment.
Right. So I'm going to split this question because between a guarantee and a measure, these are not the same thing. And words matter. So for me, what measures do you have to guarantee? I asked you about the guarantees because I felt that to ask you this question would have been a robbery in terms of not getting the whole answer.
Yeah.
So you are addressing the guarantee part. Dr. Policy, what measures do we have to make sure that all this really come to fruition? Do we have measures? I suspected that Mr. Kabu will say what he said in terms of the answers. There's no guarantee, right? And I knew the answer there. But in terms of the measures, do we have any measures? In other words, are there any ways? And that's my question in terms of trying to take away the semantics, because those can be difficult. Are there ways in which a first-year student can make sure that there's benefit from this program, and what are those?
Like we said, this is a very important program, and Mr. Sabuki said it as well that it is mandatory that for all third-year students to graduate, they must go through this program. So if student is introduced into this program from first year, that will be a bonus because they will have an overall understanding of their industry up until the third year. And that will make it more easier for them to be employed by those industries because they may have seen them, how they performed over the years. Yeah. So it's a very important program and it's beneficial to every student.
Yeah. You've been excellent. I mean, I know you're raising your little finger, but it's strong enough to be seen. But you want to add on that?
Please. Sure. Yeah. The other thing that would make us to sort of guarantee, not 100%, but one way in which we are doing it. Let me say this: on the 25th of July, we are having a career expo for students. We are bringing industry. So please make note of that. We are having a career expo for all the 4 campuses. We are hosting a career expo here in Soshanguve. Please come one, come all. It will be in the Jenko Hall. So employers will be there. So it's an opportunity for students to come, to talk to industry, to understand how to access. So again, we're going to bring a host of employers here.
Sure.
So it's a wonderful thing. Please, and I would ask you to please maybe during your broadcast moving forward until after then, emphasize the fact that there will be, and then again in Arcadia there will be a career expo on the 25th. They run parallel, all 4 campuses, that is Karankua, Soshanguve, Pretoria, and Arcadia. So those are some of the ways in which we can ascertain that students get exposure, students get access, and the students get an opportunity to talk to employers as to how can they access employment. And then some of the employers will be sharing information in the form of slides and so on, and booklets and so on, so that students must read and have ways in which they can access employment. Those are some of the measures we are coming up with.
25 July, Career Expo, Jenko Hall. That's what Mr. Tabuki Mako is telling me, and I'll be there.
We will be there as well to see to it that students are there.
Am I welcome?
You are welcome.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, we'll get your last thoughts from this. I mean, this is where we come to the end of the show, but I've thoroughly enjoyed this. Thank you so much for making time. But how do people access your opportunity? How do you broadcast, for example? And I'm using that word very, very lazily as well. I mean, how do we know of your opportunities, if any, at all? And this question is directed to you, Dr. Mqolisi.
Now, I'll give it to Mr. Mako because he is part of the university. Ours is just a council that advises.
Yeah. The question is, how do we
Access those opportunities if you have other opportunities outside the interview
Yeah.
we're having tonight.
Right, yes. I think we are using socials. We have, for example, the web page for DCE.
Yes.
And then, like I said, more than that, we are having a My Will, My Job system where we would be able to showcase some of the opportunities that we have, and then bringing more industry will be an ideal, and then definitely will give students more information about job access.
There you go. We'll leave it there. And I'll introduce the team in a moment. This show needs 5 hours of radio proper, right? Because we have all the big guys. I'm loving the level of intuitiveness that is brought on this show. The guests that are coming here, the kind of contribution, the change they are making. Dr. Esewu Mathebula, thank you so much for your time. You sound like you are clean shaven. Are you?
Oh, I have a beard that is called salt and pepper.
Have a great night. Thank you so much for your time. There you go. You sound like you, Masikela. Did you know?
Oh, thank you. I must play a trumpet, maybe.
There you go, Tagubi, Mr. Tagubi Mako, Tabuki, Mako joining us on the line. But you know your name is a difficult name, right? Because I mean, I don't think there's anyone in the country named Tabuki.
Like, there are.
It's
Check
only
Facebook,
you.
There are quite a few.
Maybe your son.
Maybe.
Yeah. But it's been a very, very enlightening conversation. I really appreciate that. Between you and I, you know that we have to have other conversations quite apart from this, because there are issues that need your analysis, your intuitiveness, and obviously your presence in terms of understanding. And I suppose the same goes for Dr. Mathebula, who's joining us on the line. Thank you so much for honoring the appointment here.
You are welcome.
Thank you.
I'm Obakeng. Dr. Mathebula, go have your coffee now. Is it cold where you are?
Yeah, you can see the way I'm dressed. It's a bit cold.
All right. Where are you?
I'm in Tshwane.
Where is that?
Tshwane
Tshwane in Pretoria?
is in Pretoria, next to Valal.
So you drinking coffee with the military? Have a good night.
My lips are sealed.
Dr. Esewu Mathebula, it's 9 o'clock exactly. Just after that, I'm Obakeng Moeketsi. This has been a great edition of the Plug Graduate. We come to you on a Wednesday, and radio doesn't get more, well, it's not entertaining. No, we are about education and information, and it doesn't get more serious than that. You can ask Johannesburg. They know about this show. They are even listening to this show, except they cannot tell you that they want Tepi Sokokane because he's our boy. He's joining us in studio, taking care of videography. Simply G, thank you so much for making sure that those questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, joining us obviously on the line to us now. Thank you so much as well. Leseja Seno is joining us as well. Kiribone Ivama Harper, the producer of the show, and thanks to Miss Shalati as well as the alumni and fundraising. She's from that department. Dr. Brink, thank you so much. A lot of people are involved in this show. Take me as a mouthpiece, but a good job done. I'm Obakeng Moeketsi. This is the Groundbreakers. Back again tomorrow. Remember what I say. You don't stop because you are tired. You stop because you are done. Good night. The ground.